I'm going to show you how to make a ton of bias tape from your favorite scraps. Let's get to it. I'm Mari with Mari Sews, and you know that piece of fabric that you've been hanging on to, that piece that's probably too small to make anything with, but it's your favorite, so you can't bear to get rid of it? Well, it's perfect to make bias tape like this. So I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way to make yards of this stuff, and then I'm going to show you how to turn it into double fold bias tape like this. I'm also going to give you some ideas on how to use the bias tape. If you've already got bias tape and you're just curious about how to turn it into the double fold bias tape, I'll put a chapter below so that way you can skip right along to that. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so go ahead and grab your fabric. Mine is 22 inches wide by 22 inches long. You're also going to need some kind of ruler. I'm going to use this yardstick, scissors, and pins. You're also going to need a marker. This is a permanent marker. I'm not worried about it marking on the edges because that's the line we're going to be cutting on, and it's going to be folded on the inside anyways. Now grab your ruler, or yardstick in my case, and we're going to match up the corners diagonally here. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a line with our marker, and you see that's happening right now. I'm just drawing that right across from one corner to the other, so that way I can see the line that I'm going to cut on. Okay, so there's my line. Grab your scissors and let's get to snipping. Just cut it and cut it and cut it well. Cut it, cut it, cut it, cut it. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, so now we're going to move this little triangle piece apart from the other, and we're going to flip it up to the side edge. Now you want to match up these side edges. You don't want to match up the diagonals that you just made. And we're going to pin right along this edge. Now that it's pinned, we're going to sew from one end to the other. I'm going to line it up with the edge of my presser foot just to keep things simple. Okay, I'm back and I've actually sewn and pressed that seam open. So now it's time for us to make our lines. So we're just going to kind of straighten this up a bit. I'm going to line it up against some of these squares. So now that I have the fabric positioned where I want it to, I'm going to go ahead and grab my yardstick, and I am going to draw lines every 2 inches. So what I'm going to end up with is a bunch of really beautiful blue lines that are 2 inches apart, going all the way up this trapezoid. Yeah, I think this is a trapezoid. This last little strip right here is no bueno. We're going to have to cut it off, and simply because it isn't one uniform width all the way across, so it's really unusable. So I'm just gonna do a little snippy snip action right here, and we're gonna get rid of this little guy. Okay, now this is where the magic happens. You're gonna fold one of these corners out. You see on my beautiful blue lines? Now bring the other one in, but we're not going to match it line for line. We're going to have to shift it up one. So you see, I'm matching up my beautiful blue lines so that way they're just one off. And just start to pin them in place like this. Add lots of pins or add only a few. It doesn't matter. Just pin this sucker together so that way we can take it to our sewing machine and sew it up. And here we have a really funky kind of tubey looking thing. we're going to sew it from one end to the other, twisting it as needed under our machine. Okay, so now we are all pinned, sewn, pressed, and we are ready to start cutting. Now you can see where the sides are actually uneven here. So it doesn't matter which side you start on, you just really want to pick one side to get your cutting action going. So I'm just going to start on this little edge. You can see I've already cheated and made a couple snips. I'm just going to go in there and continue sewing right around. And because we offset the strips, it's just going to be one super long continuous bias strip. So be patient and keep going. And now we can do a little dance because we have about 6 yards of bias tape. Yeah! Now, if you thought we were done, we're not. We're now going to make double folded bias tape. So go ahead and fold your bias tape in half and give it a good press because we're going to need that center line for some fun folding action. Boom! Beautifully pressed. Okay, so now we're going to need to open this little guy up, and you see where that crease is? We're going to fold both ends into that crease. And then we're going to fold it closed like this. These little ends can be such a little tricky thing, and give it a good press. I like to leave my iron there while I fold the next little bit, and I move my iron down. And I will continue to do this for the entire length, and then we will be done. Easy peasy. Now you have about 6 yards of double fold bias tape. Now this stuff is actually really good to use to finish raw seams. You can either use it along an entire seam line, or you can use it to finish armholes easily. I like to use double fold bias tape as quick shoulder straps, like this one here on this dress that I made for Project Dress a Girl, which is going to a girl in need. And by the way, if you're curious about making yourself a beginner-friendly dress to donate to Project Dress a Girl, you're not going to want to miss Simply Delilah's video over here where she maps out all of the guidelines for the types of dresses that you might want to make. I hope you have a lot of fun making your own bias tape from your favorite fabrics, and until next time, I sincerely hope that you find joy and have a wonderful day.